What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel, and this is HP Gaming's first ever weekly news recap. I'm very excited to get started. All right, so we're just going to jump right into the news. The big interesting one this week, and I guess it was more nothing than anything, but on the 17th, the Highguard website was down. There was no explanation from the developers. The Highguard developers have been pretty silent in general, even as we know after it got announced at the TGAs. So they're not very they're not very active on social. So their website went down, and that had a whole bunch of rumors and speculation about whether or not the game's going to end up shutting down within like the next day or so. Like people that were getting close to getting all the achievements or trophies in Highguard were trying to lock in to make sure they got it just in case something happened. Turns out that wasn't the case. Highguard, their Twitter did come out, and they had some updates coming out to the game. They're going to be out here in the next day or so. And then interesting enough, after the website went down and there was more Highguard talk on Twitter, it came out that Tencent was the company that was mostly funding this game. So very, very interesting to come out of just the website being down. But the website is back up and running. So Highguard fans, I don't think they should have a fear as of right now for the game shutting down. All right, on to the next piece of news. Final Fantasy Part 3. It is in its final push. This comes from videogamer.com. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 is highly anticipated as the finale to Square Enix's remake trilogy. The developer has announced that the game's director, Naoki Hamaguchi, revealed that Part 3 was entered the final push phase, giving us hope that we could see a 2027 release date to celebrate the original game's 30th anniversary. Providing an update to development, Hamaguchi said the third installment is progressing very smoothly, and we're almost exactly on schedule with the milestones we set at the beginning of the project. We're at the stage where the quality improves day by day, and each time we play it, the scenery feels different, so it's genuinely exciting. To conclude the interview, Hamaguchi teased, I think it won't be too long before we're able to share some kind of update with everyone. I expect we either Square is going to do some sort of event showing off Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, or we're going to see it at the TGAs this summer. And I definitely think this game is going to come out in 2027. I think the Switch port for Remake sold very, very well. And, well, we're obviously getting Rebirth later on this year for the Switch 2. So very excited to play that for the first time, as I did Remake on the Switch 2. So very excited. I think that's good news for Final Fantasy Remake fans. Don't really have much to put on this next news story. Zelda does turn 40 on February 21st. We shouldn't expect probably anything from Nintendo on Saturday. They generally don't even mention Zelda's any sort of anniversary until they're ready to have like a direct or something, or it comes up in a direct. They don't usually talk about it until maybe June. That's what they did for the 35th. They didn't even tweet out anything. So look for more of like people on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, content creators celebrating Zelda's 40th and kind of what it means to them. I do have a personal video dropping on the channel that kind of just goes over my love for Zelda. So definitely check that out when that comes out on Saturday. Again, likely no announcements from Nintendo. I would be shocked if we got like anything from Nintendo at all. So yeah, Layers of Fear 3 has been announced. That was the tease from Bloober Team. So that is the next game that is coming from them. I think Bloober Team has had a pretty darn good run of games here recently. I personally like the Medium that came out a few years ago. Silent Hill 2 remake was excellent. One of the best remakes I've ever played. It was so incredibly good. And then Chronos. I loved that game. I played it on the Switch 2, ran great. I think it was a great survival horror game. So they've been on a run. I've never played any of the Layers of Fear games. I know they just dropped like the definitive edition on Switch 2 not too long ago. So I might end up checking that out at some point before this comes out. But yeah, Bloober Team is kind of one of those up-and-coming developers where until they prove me wrong, I'm gonna probably enjoy their games. The next news is interesting. So Christopher Judge, the current voice of Kratos in the last two, Ragnarok and God of War 2018, he was at a panel or a con, and the YouTuber. I hate when people do this. She had the microphone clipped to her shirt, and I don't think Christopher Judge knew that she was recording. Which you shouldn't be saying things to the public anyways, because people are always recording and they're going to take your word and spin it, or just put it out there. And that's exactly what this YouTuber did. So Christopher Judge seemingly leaked God of War announcement coming in late summer of 2026. The remake trilogy is also the one that he's not part of. That's TC Carlson, is getting a combat overhaul, which didn't go into details of what that exactly meant, but one would assume that it's going to be the over-the-shoulder combat like 2018 God of War and Ragnarok. Personally, for me, I want to keep those games separate because they are different style games, and I think you kind of lose what the God of War trilogy was if you remake it that style. No, it'll probably be cool. I would just prefer just remake it like visually and maybe improve on like the combat a little. I'm not really sure. I'll have to wait and see what this looks like. But it's still exciting nonetheless.
A new announcement, and I have to come say hi. Are you playing in the remake?
No, well, it's gonna be TC because it's not a reboot, but they're gonna put all the new technology in it, add more stuff, a new fighting system.
Okay.
So that will be TC. The original.
Sorry, who's
the original guy?
Oh, the original. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then you'll be hearing about what we're doing probably late summer.
Oh, that's so exciting. You didn't play in the Sparta one, right? The new announcement too?
The Sons of Sparta?
Yeah.
Well, that's a kind of 2D thing. That's about Kratos and Deimos, his brother, training to be Sparta.
Christopher Judge did respond on Twitter, and I'll put that up here in a moment. But he basically just denied the fact that it was any sort of God of War announcement. He just said, "Hey, I do work on other games as a voice actor. That's what I was talking about. That the news is my own news to come in late summer." I don't know if I believe him or not, but we'll we'll see what actually ends up happening. And then the next piece of news is the Duskbloods was listed on the eShop for the first time since it was announced. This comes from My Nintendo News, and the game has now appeared on the Australian Nintendo eShop under the upcoming release section for the Nintendo Switch 2. Today has also been the game. It's also seen the game appear on a Finnish retailer website with a 27th March release date. I've seen a lot of people kind of freak out, like that's so soon, that's next month. March 27th is the end of the fiscal year. There's no way in hell that FromSoft is going to release a huge game like this on the final day of the fiscal year. That is just not a thing that game developers and publishers do. So definitely not a release date. That could mean maybe a dedicated direct for this game, but I don't expect that. This could just be a placeholder. A lot of times retailers will just put a placeholder date that's not actually the release date. So March 27th, definitely not the release date. That's a little over a month. This game definitely needs marketing, and they're not going to do that for this type of game. This is a big game for the Switch too. Either it's just a random coincidence, these things have occurred, or alternatively, we could be getting a presentation of the game very soon. Again, this is from My Nintendo News, and basically just restating what I just mentioned. So cool stuff nonetheless. Again, we haven't heard of Duskbloods since it got announced, and we were kind of maybe expecting it in that partner showcase, but it wasn't there. But something like the Duskbloods or Expedition 33, or Metaphor ReFantazio, we're going to get that stuff at a general mainline direct because those games are just that big. The next story is kind of a funny one. On February 20th, around 1:30, 2 a.m., Nintendo themselves leaked Pokemon Firered and Leafgreen are coming to the eShop on February 27th on Pokemon Day. So that was supposed to be a shadow drop on Pokemon Day, and it was up for quite a while. I was up to about maybe 2 this morning, and it was still there. It was not taken down. And of course, like Wario 64 over on X tweeted it out, and then after that, it just kind of snowballed. And then early this morning, Nintendo and Pokemon Company did confirm that indeed those games are coming February 27th. They are $20, so to me, it sounds reasonable. You know, we knew these games were rumored, and I thought they would have been a lot more because it's the Pokemon Company and they love they love to nickel and dime their consumers. So yeah, I think it's cool they're coming. I'm excited to replay these games again. And then our last news of the week, and this one I was going to put the Duskbloods as the big story of the week because I thought that was cool. But this came out from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg. PlayStation is shutting down Bluepoint Games. And who is Bluepoint Games? They are essentially the remake studio for PlayStation. You know, they just recently did Demon Souls and various other games. They are a very, very high caliber, high quality studio that has a long history of remaking games, and the remakes are fantastic. Stuff like Shadow of the Colossus that came to PS4, I believe, when that came out. So a very high quality studio. This one shocked me. Out of all the game studios that PlayStation has, I would expect something like this from Media Molecule or Haven Studios that is making fair games, which we haven't heard of in quite a while. Part of their live service initiative. Yeah, this one is a shocker to me because the reason why you purchased Bluepoint was to remake games. And what's the biggest remake that PlayStation fans and gamers in general have been begging for the last few years? Bloodborne. Why didn't they give Bloodborne to to Bluepoint? It is very, very frustrating. It seems like PlayStation has just had a bad run with the PS5 generation. If you want to hear more of me ranting about this specific story, I will have this video linked in the description below. Basically, about an 8-minute long video of me ranting about the situation. Very, very frustrating. This is why I love covering and researching video game news, because there's literally something happening like every second of the day, it seems like. Just when I am rendering this news recap video to get ready to be published on YouTube, we have this huge breaking news about Phil Spencer. Let's just dive into it. I don't have enough time to truly dive in and read all these articles because I got to get this video out. So we will definitely be talking about this more on the podcast, Gaming with the Broscast. So let's just dive in. This comes over from Stealth and others, but he packaged this information nicely in this post here. So big news from Team Xbox: Phil Spencer is retiring effective Monday, which is kind of crazy. He will be in an advisory role, I think, through the summer to help out with the transition. So while he's retiring, he's not completely gone quite yet. This often happens whenever CEOs and big time people retire. They don't just quit and exit the building. They stick around for a little bit to help with the transition. And Sarah Bond resigned. She just up and quit. I'm sure we'll get some more information over the weekend about why she quit, or maybe we won't. But that's kind of a shocker, to be honest. Matt Moody is becoming Xbox Chief Content Officer, and Asha Sharma from Microsoft Core AI is named Microsoft Gaming CEO. I don't know a lot about Asha, but this makes me a little bit nervous with it being she was head of the Core AI. Like, I really am sick of AI. I don't know. I'm tired of seeing it everywhere, and I definitely don't want it. I mean, AI in gaming has been around for a long time, but the way that these companies are trying to implement it kind of scares me about what's to come to the gaming industry. And Microsoft is obviously one of the biggest companies in the world, and they're going to be shoving this in our face. So I'm a little bit nervous. I'm looking forward to reading more information over the weekend about what's to come of this and what this means for Xbox in general. But yeah, sad news. I liked Phil a lot. I feel like as the big three, like Phil was the most transparent and got on the microphone more than the other heads of PlayStation and Nintendo. And he he had charisma and charm about him that I liked. Whenever he spoke, even even if it most of the time it was during, you know, bad times at Xbox, like I believed in him and I believed in the vision that he had for Xbox. So sad to see him retire, but well deserving. Hope feel nothing but the best. But all right, that's going to be the final news of the day. All right, and this brings us over to the rapid fire news segment. So Avowed has launched on the PS5, and the anniversary update is available on the Xbox and PC. Kristen Bell will voice Amy Rose in the Sonic 4 movie. We don't have a release date for that yet. Replaced has been delayed 1 month. It's now coming out April 14th. Resident Evil Requiem copies are in the wild, so be very, very careful on socials to avoid spoilers because we don't want that game spoiled. It comes out in literally a week from now, so we don't want that spoiled. Doom: The Dark Ages was seemingly leaked by Nintendo. Now this could just be an error. There was a video or a picture on the eShop with Bethesda games, and they had the Doom: The Dark Ages Doom guy in that photo. So it could have just been a mistake, but we know this game is coming to the Switch too. I mean, Eternal in 2016 was on there, so we know this game is coming. Game Pass update for Ultimate Aerial Knights is available now. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is available now. EA Sports College Football 26 is available now. For the premium tier, Avowed is available today, as we mentioned before. Death Howl is available. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition is also available. TCG Card Shop Simulator comes February 24th. Towerborn comes February 26th. Final Fantasy 3 comes March 3rd. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 comes March 3rd. And then on PC, Dice A Million comes out as well. Call of Duty Warzone Mobile will go dark on April 17th after poor performance was reported. Virtual Boy has launched this week on the Switch and Switch 2. Keep in mind that you do need the Virtual Boy accessory or the cardboard to actually play these games. It is required to play. Skyrim on the Switch 2 had an update and it added 60 frames per second, so that's a good update. Starfield isn't getting a 2.0 update from this came from the Kind of Funny interview with Todd Howard, basically saying if you didn't enjoy Starfield as it is, you're not going to enjoy it after its next update. We know that it's probably coming to PS5 at some point in time. Big for me, Xenoblade Chronicles X Switch 2 edition is available now digitally. There is a $5 upgrade for that. The physical Switch 2 edition version is coming April 16th. Hello Mario is available on mobile and the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. The Neva Prologue DLC is out now. And then .hack 0 Project Start. This comes from Twitter, CyberConnect Co. Today, February 16th, celebrates its 30th anniversary. To commemorate this milestone, we are pleased to announce the start of development for a completely new home console game titled .hack 0. This title will be released as a self-published project with CyberConnect 2, handling everything from planning, development, and to sales in-house. Neo 3 is the fastest selling entry in the franchise and has sold over 1 million copies. The franchise now has sold over 10 million copies. So huge news for Neo and Neo fans. Nier Automata reaches 10 million copies sold, and the continuation of the series has been teased. So that is going to wrap up the first episode show of the weekly news recap. Please let me know. I want to hear all opinions and feedback, good or bad. If there's anything about the show that you want me to change, please let me know in the comments below. If you liked this weekly news recap, please like the video and comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video.